Welcome to the Kia Zone. He's one of the nicest men in cricket and still a fantastic player. So that counts out Hussain. It is a great place this morning to speak to Marcus Trescothick. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good.
Was it always cricket for you? I mean, you're a bit of a cricket badger, aren't you?
Yeah,
Was it always
I am,
bat and ball and that is what you wanted to do?
Very much so. From a young age, growing up, you play various sports at school, don't you? But cricket was always going to be the main thing for me. I just love watching the old man play and then just go there and hit balls in the nets with the mates, and you gradually pick it up. But obviously it's still going now at the ripe old age of 41. It just still drives me on, the love of the game and just hitting balls.
The England age group you play, though, was the goal always Test cricket, or was it to start with just to play for Somerset?
I think you always put the pinnacle of playing for England, don't you? I don't know if you set your stall on, right, it's got to be Test cricket, it's got to be one-day cricket. I just wanted to play for England. And then the journey is, you know, the next goal, right, I've got to play for Somerset and work out how I'm going to achieve it. And obviously then, you know, the stepping stone upwards and onwards.
You did get to play for England. Before you played for England, though, these were your stats. I'm going to bring you in here. What did Duncan Fletcher say to you about him and why you should get him in the Test side? With an average of just over 30.
Yeah, actually it was a change of policy back then. It was a little bit like the situation that's happening now, where we had a lot of people in county cricket getting a load of runs. They were being played and not getting many runs in international cricket when the pressure was on. So we were picking just on runs as opposed to what the character of the individual is. So we picked Michael Vaughan, who was averaging 33. I'd spoken to some of the guys at Yorkshire and they said, look, he's got something about him, this lad. And Duncan had seen Marcus play at Taunton, and he had smashed 160 against Jacques Kallis. Everyone said, well, Jacques Kallis. But that season, Jacques Kallis was bowling the speed of light on a bit of an iffy pitch at Taunton, and he smashed 160. And Duncan said, don't worry about the runs he got. The way he played Kallis, I want him in my side, and we got him.
Phone call came, you're going to make your Test debut. What was going through your mind?
Unbelievable, really. So I broke into the one-day team first. I think you broke another finger, as you generally do. And then I sort of got drafted into the one-day stuff. And then after that, I played in the Test matches as well, which was absolutely superb. So.
And you opened the batting with our very own Michael Atherton. Memories of that day?
Yeah, I do. I remember just before we obviously walking out here, I walked down the stairs first at Old Trafford, and Atherton's come running past me because he had to be the first one out onto the pitch, so which was quite bizarre. And then we're losing wickets left, right, and centre. He chipped one up again. Part of it, I don't remember. I was watching this back this morning. I don't remember seeing that.
Is that right?
No, I don't remember that one. I was obviously same as Thorpe. He didn't see it. I don't remember then getting dropped on naught. But I do remember it took me so long to get get runs going, and it just a memorable moment, you know, when you finally get one away.
Well, you were 17 for it at one stage, 16 for one. It should have been 16 for two. You were dropped. You don't remember this?
No,
really?
don't remember it. No, it was obviously quite a long time ago, but just no, I don't remember being dropped on naught. So
what got you going though? What got your feet going and the ball hitting the middle of the bat?
Yeah, well, so the first spell, Courtney and Kirtley were obviously relentless at how they used to bowl. They give you nothing and go away. And then the first ball from Franklin Rose there was a pitched-up drive, and away you go. And then you start flowing after that. It was quite a slow innings. I remember. I think it was Alex Stewart's and Atherton's 100 Test matches. And I remember the course of the day, we batted quite a long time with Stewie, and Stewie got to 100 pretty much before I got to 50, I think. So it was quite a slow innings, and the pace of Test cricket around then was a little bit slower, but obviously great day.
So when you were in the dressing room and you seen him play his shots like he would in county cricket and seeing him in around the dressing room, did you know that there was something here?
Absolutely. You can be wise after the event now, looking back, but absolutely at the time. There were people who came in the dressing room and would leave saying, oh, well, we weren't looked after, no one spoke to us, no one told us what to do. And I always was worried about people like that. In fact, him and Vaughan came in that dressing room and they were so low maintenance. They knew their game. He was a bit Stewart-like, and he is still a bit Alex Stewart-like. All his gear was immaculate. His bats, he loves his gears, his bats, his gloves. Everything had to be spot on. He was a fiddler. I love that about him. He had that Thorpe fiddling with his handles, and he'd be in the corner putting tape on his handles and everything. We knew that here was a lad that would look after himself. He'd look up to see what Stewart and Atherton were doing. They learnt from those guys, but he was very capable of looking after his own game.
While I show him this, go and grab his bat, because we'll show exactly what you mean. Always thing impressed me about you playing seamers. This is jumping forward now to 2005. How simple everything was. Was that the key to your game?
Pretty much, yeah. I didn't really have much else to try and do. I was always somebody who was quite aggressive in the style I played, and I wanted to score runs. I didn't want to bat all day to get 100. I wanted to bat all day to get 170, you know, over the course of a day if you could. But see ball, hit ball. You know, I didn't really have a great technique necessarily. It was fairly simple. Try and hit the ball late, try and hit it under my eyes, and away you go after that.
Well, explain it. Well, we'll explore a little bit more technical, but in terms of the lack of foot movement, I mean, so that ball is sort of on the line here.
Yeah.
For you, it was all about the weight transfer.
Yeah, it was. You're judging the pace, obviously. You're playing on good pitches against quicker bowlers, so you're always looking for the pull, the back foot shots in particular. And then I wasn't somebody who was either going to try and make a big stride and make that happen. It was more a shift of the body weight going forward and the hips trying to get into it. And if I got it wrong, I was like this, and the ball used to skew off square the wicket. But if you get it right and you hit it late enough, it would go straight down and into the covers.
Right, we're going to explore that in just a moment because I want you to demo it. So, but just talking about his, come on, the fiddling. Look at these grips. Can we get in tight on this? Oh no, you okay with that?
Just hang on a minute. Yeah.
He's getting a bit tense here. Why are you doing this? What's the theory here? You ever love a theory? What's
just
the theory?
Feel, how the grip feels in your hands is vitally important for me.
And it's working.
I don't know why. It's just over time it evolves, and you put tape on and you put grips on and you take the binding off and you do various things with it. But
and it's working. Got 100 this week, haven't you? Got 100.
At last, yeah. It's been an interesting season for me so far. But
right, we'll try and repair the damage.
Yeah, it's okay.
Can you go and feed for us, because I want you to just take your stance now. One of the things you were talking to me about is not getting out too far in front of you. You know, your trigger movement, but not getting there.
Yeah.
How do you practice that?
Well, it's always been an essential part for me because of the foot movement and never really getting. I'm not going to go too far at the ball that way, although my game has evolved playing county cricket compared to Test cricket. I had to hit the ball late, and that's what I worked at more than anything else. And it's a brilliant drill, almost, when you're a little bit out of nick as well, when you're not quite striking the ball too well. If generally you find when you're not getting the contacts you want, it's because you're hitting the ball a little bit early. So you're getting the position you get in, you're going to get out, and you're making contact right out here. So then you lose a little bit of shape. I'm trying to get as much contact point as I can right back down under my eyes as much as possible, so the ball almost comes and bounces out.
Right, jump in your stance. NASA's going to feed you a couple. I think we got it on about 90, but it is a tennis ball. Let me get there.
I haven't got my glasses on.
We're in the bins nowadays, aren't you? So you're trying to hit this as a drill very, very close to you, not get out, yeah?
So as close as I can here. It's not going to be a massive amount of foot movement because obviously it's a fairly good pace, so I'm just trying to make the contact point as close to me as possible. That's gone again. So I'm trying to make the ball almost bounce straight into the floor.
Right, and that's the one, is it?
Yeah, that's the ideal sort of process. Obviously, it's tennis balls, the ball's going to bounce. So the closer I hit it, the better you're going to get a strike on the bat.
Right.
So the further out I get, and obviously you get away from it, then you lose your shape a little bit.
But in terms of getting into the ball, so what was the trigger? And how has that changed from when you were with England and facing the likes of Brett Lee to say what you're doing now at county cricket?
Yeah, I sort of built my game about almost sitting back a little bit and then just leaning forward as touch. So my trigger movements were always a little bit doo-doo, and then you try and play from the position it is, because then you're always looking pull. But now I'm a lot more, I load up back forward to try and then get forward into the ball, so trying to get more position there and then still react if it's a little bit shorter.
It's interesting, isn't it, how you need a slightly different technique from test match cricket to county cricket, a back foot technique. This is something the selectors are going to have to bear in mind. Going away to Australia, for example, you're going to need a back foot technique to play the ball above your waist. You get more deliveries up here. And the other thing, straight away, I noticed with Marcus, both on that footage and when he batted there, how simple it is. It seems so simple, back and forward, rhythmical, back and forward, compared to what we see nowadays. We see batsmen with bats up, very sort of stiff, maybe on off-stump guard. You know, Kieran Powell, very open, open stance, whereas he seems very simple, knows his game very well.
You've got to try and keep it relatively simple, haven't you? Because the key is obviously how the brain is operating and what you're doing. If you're playing well, it feels so simple because all you do is you pick the bat up and you drop it down and you crunch it away. When you're not playing well, that's when you get confused in what you're trying to do in your thoughts and everything's working.
In terms of keeping it simple, I just want to show you something. Come back over the cup because I'm going to show you when you first started to where you were a bit later in your career. Now, you sort of slightly winced when I show this because your sort of position here is going to be a far more crouched and a lot straighter there. So if I roll it on...
Yeah, but also how low my hands were at the time.
Right,
so what do you... of what I got on the crouch.
There you are. So then you got your crouch sort of... that position. Clear that and roll it on. And then the position you got into when you're facing Brett Lee, sort of here. Deliberate?
Yeah, very much so. So I gradually, over time, as it sort of evolved, one of the biggest challenges was the dip of the head. When I was used to get out of form, the trigger movement was always a little bit late, and then that was almost on the move as you're trying to get it. So you tried to get it in early enough to then, your head was still at the point of release so you can then watch the ball and get it back in. But this was more the fact here. I was trying to then get the bend a bit more from the knees rather than sort of from the hip. So I could try and keep my head more level, but I'd still get in a position where I'd still be balanced enough so I could get back into the ball and watch it hard.
Well, that's not a bad position that you get into when you hit the shot.
No, I think again, it's okay, isn't it? It's not too bad. You can see you're watching the ball up there. My head's a lot more probably up there in relation to where I was. It goes back to a bit of practice I used to do in Australia in comparison to the different positions. But the actual outcome is very similar. But the process of it, as how it works, is, you know, it evolved over time.
What was that practice in Australia?
Well, I worked with a guy, Peter Colstein, when we were at the WACA. Played 2 years in Perth. And he got, you know, he would talk about watching the ball with your eyes rather than trying to watch the ball with your head. Because he believed that if you dip your head too early to try and watch the ball contact point here, you would lose it for that split second, where you can almost try and watch it with your head up and your eyes will track it lower
So your
down.
eyes track it, it's not like you're moving your head around from that position to there, you're actually just moving it with your eyes.
Yeah, and that was something I did a lot then. I've not necessarily carried it on because you work on other things and you watch the ball closely, but there's various drills you can do when you're doing that. And then you get up and watch where the ball has pitched, as we talked about already before. So little things like that, really.
One thing he was very good at, I remember, he was obviously very close to his dad, Duncan, in the dressing room, but he was very good at soaking up information. So he'd get out a certain way or get runs a certain way, and then he'll go and sit on the iPad or the computer with Duncan, and Duncan will notice trigger movements. And within a week, Marcus would put that in place. And some, you know, we played with Andrew Flintoff, for example. Andrew would take months or years. He just couldn't change the way he played. He was very good at seeing maybe an area he needed to improve on, and that's why Duncan would go to him a lot, because Duncan would know, here is a lad that can change, and it won't affect him too much to sit and discuss and change things. I think the best thing, the most impressive thing about him, actually, was his playing of spin. I know we're going to come on to that, but the way he played spin, that was an area of concern to all English players. When we went on those tours to Sri Lanka, Pakistan, etc., the way he played spin was phenomenal.
We'll come on to that in just a minute. Can you feed just again for me? I want to just explore that eye thing and tracking the ball with your eyes. So you're keeping your head up, you're tracking the line and the flight of the ball without dropping your head, so you're keeping your head up and tracking it with your eyes. But the drill is to try and then see.
So you play the ball and then you can say where it is.
Right, well, you hit this one. I'm going to just solely watch where the ball pitched and see if you're tracking.
As they used to be.
The old bins aren't on.
Let's see how we get on.
Right.
I'm guessing around here.
Where you reckon?
Somewhere about here.
There.
Okay, so I'm 8 miles away.
Try one more.
Yeah.
Try one more. Are you really watching the ball? Oh, you nicked it, but you
clearly
probably
not.
Where do you reckon?
Don't know, no idea. That's why I nicked it.
Try again.
I don't know.
But that's the idea. Then you train in yourself.
I watched that one closer onto the back that
time. Right, all the way.
Yeah.
Spin. What was the best bit of advice you got when playing spin? I imagine that came from Duncan Fletcher.
Yeah. So when growing up playing spin, I always had a game that I could always sweep. That was always my go-to shot. Not necessarily reverse sweep, but paddle sweep, hard sweep, slog sweep, whatever it was. But as I then started playing against better spinners in international cricket, I had to try and develop a game that was going to, just have sweep. You ought to be able to manipulate it around. Graham Thorpe was the king of what we tried to do, of nicking and nurdling ones, twos, because on pitches that were spinning, you couldn't always hit boundaries necessarily. You had to think of a different game plan to try and work out what you're going to try and do. And that's where I evolved pretty quickly. The first 3 tours we went on was Sri Lanka, Pakistan, India. Yeah. So, you couldn't have had a better opportunity, because you get loads of guys want to come and bowl in the nets. You could face hours and hours of spin trying to what you do. You're working with Duncan Fletcher, who was trying to teach us all this new sort of style about, the forward press, about what we're trying to do. And I evolved really quickly because I worked really hard on it over a good short period of time. So that was where my game sort of then developed, and an understanding of what I could try and do. And even all the way through my whole Test career, and even my county career now, you're trying to evolve. Yeah. Even last winter, I was working with something with Matt Maynard to try and change something against spin. So you're constantly trying to tweak it, if you like.
Explain the principles of the forward press, then.
Well, so my stance was always that little bit lower. So I'm always quite an upright person against seam, and I needed to try and get a little bit lower. So Duncan said to try and get sort of a bit more bend in the knees, so you're down in that position, and then you're trying to make a forward press to try and get the movements almost out of the way, because if I was then going to play Muralitharan and try and play a forward defensive and created a big
energy
movement,
on it.
I'm then making the ball, if it spins, I'm giving it energy to then make the ball deviate and obviously then get out at that point. So you're trying to take as much space and as much movement out of the game so that all you've got to do is drop a bat on as much as you can do at that point.
But also getting lower. Does that help you track the flight? What was the theory as well on the forward
so Duncan
press?
always thought about a lot of shorter guys were very good against playing against spin and against somebody necessarily who were taller guys because of the position we were in. So he believed that getting underneath the line and the flight of the ball would help you pick the length of what we're trying to do. So getting in more of a crouched position before you made the forward press, you could try and judge the length of what was going to happen.
Where should a kid defend the ball? Because when you started, was it here by your pad? I mean, I noticed there when you demoed it, you already had your bat out in front of your pad.
And all the way through my sort of test career, we were trying to tweak this, but in the Ashes 05, I was trying to even tweak it at that point because I was very much bat and pad together. You could get away with it without DRS. There's many games that we played where we kicked 3 before we eventually got given out LBW. So now you've got to get out in front because you've got to try and you either got to get out in front of your bat, in front of your pad, or you've got to get your pad right out of the way, as we see various people try and do, because you can't afford to be hit on the pad with DRS nowadays.
How difficult a change was that for you to start playing out in front? Tricky?
Yeah, tricky, very tricky. And the test match at the Oval in 05 was a great example of that because I was constantly going like this to Warren, doosh, kicking it straight to Ricky Ponting. I think it was a test match at Trent Bridge, got caught silly point. So in the test match then at the Oval, I played back and nicked off to Matthew Hayden purely because I wasn't comfortable doing this. I wasn't happy because I was trying to learn something at the time. That's the middle of a test match, middle of a huge test match. That's
defence. I want to talk to you about scoring and certainly your options with the sweep. Let's look at the basic one. Where is it? Let's try that one. These ones here. So this is out in Sri Lanka, Gaul, I think, and you get 100, and it's going to spin. These are very gentle sweeps.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do? Is it just about scoring runs? Is it knocking the bowler off his line and length?
Yeah, a bit of both. You're trying to just manipulate, aren't you? You don't want to get stuck at one end for too long because the pressure builds and it becomes quite tricky. You're bowling into the rough. So I was always just trying to manipulate it around. What I tried to do and practice a lot in these sort of sweeps was I'm just trying to hit it to the umpire. I don't want to try and give it too much energy because if I go too hard and it spins, it will go up. So I'm just trying to knock it on its head and just roll it round the corner into space, really, past short leg and away that sort of point. But there's so many different areas of types of sweep. You've got the paddle sweep, you can now tap it on its head, you can hit it square, you can slog sweep. You know, so many different variations.
Jump in the stance then. Nash, chuck us some balls over there. Just a couple of little drills then if you want to get in a good position to play the sweep.
Simple stuff. I would always just start back down on one knee. You get a lot of kids doing it now with the coaching stuff I do at school, but you just get in a position where they're fairly comfortable. People are going to underarm the ball and you practice various types of sweeps. So you're going to be going the little tap sweep, you know, little something on its head, and then maybe a bit more wristy, a bit more hockey sort of wrist, and you know, sort of slap it square of the wicket. And obviously, of course, that varies. And you're constantly practicing it in various different things because the ball's always going to be different lengths, so you have to react on where it's going to be. But it's not always that you get a consistent pitch that you can just play the ball and where it's going to be.
The leg side, you can just
so you've then got to try and react and make something different.
Right out there, bomb.
And then hit it from where it's going to come from.
You talk about knocking on the head. Why are you trying to do that?
So being a left-hander, you have to deal a lot with the rough. You know, and the ball bounces out of it funny. It sometimes goes straight along the floor. So you've got to try and nullify the fact if you try too much of that sort of sweep where you're going on one plane and it spins, you're just going to get a top edge straight up in the air. So you're constantly then changing your process altogether and then coming over the top, bomb, to try and then almost splat it on the floor. So you're trying to hit it as the ball pitches on contact point to take the bounce of the ball out of it and the spin, if you like. That's the challenge.
If you were facing, didn't you go through a period where you faced spinners in the nets and you try to play a sweep to every single delivery?
Yeah, and that's what I would almost do, building for tours almost, just trying to get used to the feeling of sweeping again, getting the press going where you just sweep every ball, because then the bowler would get wind of what you're trying to do. And then they'd go, I'm not happy with this because he's just messing up my length. So then they'll try and fire one in. So you then have to get the leg out of the way to try and adapt to it, or they'll bowl it wide. Again, you've got to try and come up with a release shot to try and bail out if the ball's not quite there.
If you're not quite in the right position, can you bail out?
Yeah, you have to try. And gradually over time, that for me has evolved a bit, where you try and almost then just defend it to almost, you go into sweep and then you can just try and run it off if you can get it that way. But
Go back to the start of that.
it's hard when it spins like that.
Yeah, but also we had a gut feel. We'd played with him so much in the subcontinent. I could sit in the dressing room and know from that stance there, that position, I knew he was going to sweep.
Where his hands are?
Because where his hands are, how low he used to get. And I'm surprised bowlers didn't pick it up. He was getting into a low position fairly early, ready. But what was good about him was that release shot. You were very good at. Some other cricketers would have thought, I'm going to sweep, and wherever it is, I'm going to sweep and get him into trouble. But he had such clear thought process. I'm going to sweep. It's not quite there. I'll go to my release shot.
Or you go down to sweep it and it's short, and then you almost have to rock back and play a pull shot off the front foot, from a position where you're on the floor. But it's the practice is the key part to that, because you have to get used to it, because it's not always going to be there when you're looking to sweep. Quite often the sweep for me is quite premeditated, so you're guessing where the ball's going to be. You know what sort of zone it's going to be in, but you know they're not always there. You have to try and adapt to it.
Slog sweep.
Yeah.
Show some of this in one-day cricket. I mean, is this just getting your leg out of the way and swinging?
It's quite a common method now, isn't it? You see it a lot now. It's the big shot that they play. The boys create the path and the power position from your hips, your leg, the drive that you get. But it was always, again, it was quite a natural shot for me that you could get used to, because I could always sweep. And then you use it at the right time. Sometimes I used it a lot at the right time. Sometimes I used it at the wrong time and it would go straight up in the air.
Tell us, for young boys and girls watching, play that shot. Do you play it on line, on length? So when they let it go, are you thinking that's the right line or the right length?
I'm thinking I'm going to hit this for 6. I'm going, this is just going to go, and then wherever it is, I'm going to adapt.
So it doesn't matter that it's too full and you're going for the big slog sweep and it's too full,
and you've got to then try and get it out of the way, and if it's in the zone, it goes. That's what I'm looking.
You know you're practicing in that position.
Yeah.
If I throw you just a couple to sweep slog, watch out, boys, because it's going to come your way. Would you practice with your on the floor, or would you be more upright?
I think
you're going to have to back out a little bit.
I'll try and get over the top.
Okay.
I think if you're doing the hard sweeps and what it's going to try and be, and obviously this is then a progression from doing the drill from where you're going to be. So you're almost in the same sort of position. But then you'd be normal sweep.
Yeah.
And then you'd go and back out, and then you'd get that power position in what you want to do. I'd probably be a little bit lower, but you're trying to create that width and that arc of the bat that you're trying to get to pinpoint the zone that you're going to hit it into.
Did it make a difference if you come over here?
Yeah, it will do, because of the line. Obviously, then you have a bit of, maybe potentially have a bit more rough. So you have to then just get it out of the way again. But it's adapting to where the ball's going to be.
Do one more. So I'm going to throw it a bit wider.
Yeah, it's all relative then to where you want to hit the ball.
Because, where is it? Hitting down the ground off the spinners as well was a strength of yours. Were you thinking sweep there at any stage, or was that just the line?
That was thinking, right, we're going to be aggressive against Shane Warne. At the start of that over, straight away we wanted to show intent. We were flying the morning of that test match. Obviously, it was a big day. Turned out to be a big test match in the series. So we always wanted to try and emphasise and be aggressive against Shane straight away, just to put him under pressure.
We asked you for your favourite innings, and you chose this one in Johannesburg. Why?
A couple of reasons. The situation of the game was pretty tense. I think we were 1-1 in the 1-1 in the series. Yeah, going into one more test match after this, and it was sort of in the balance. But we were losing wickets around, and I played and I got 180. So obviously, massive, important game. And then Hoggy then came in and knocked him over in the second innings. But a few times throughout the course of my career, I had sort of periods of the game where everything was perfect, how I was playing. And that would be the hands, the head, everything. The concentration was just absolutely bang on. And that was one of them there where I just felt like I was invincible and I could do whatever I wanted to try and do.
We've discussed here a lot about Marcus, the player. I don't think we've got enough time really to discuss Marcus, the bloke. And anyone who's played with him will know what a team man he is. You know, complete opposite to me. I was self-obsessed, all about me, my net. This lad was completely about the individuals in the team. That's why he made a very good vice-captain. It was all about, we had batting buddies that would go away and throw to bowlers. Every time he got out, he'd find one of the bowlers, go and throw at them. He was completely driven by the team. Even some of the banter, if some of the banter got a little bit too touchy and towards cricket, he would jump on their case. I think his greatest asset, obviously, is batting. But his greatest asset to English cricket was what he did with that team, the culture he created in that team. and he's taken that on to Somerset and everything. He's been a top guy.
And still going nicely, still loving it. I mean, I'm going to show you this graphic as well.
Yeah.
Leading run scorers in the county championship since 2007, and you are right at the top. 10 years still going. Still love it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a struggle this year because obviously, you know, you don't get the volume of runs you get. It's been hard work for us as a team, but you know, when you see stats like that, that's what drives me on. That's what sort of gave me the thrill after missing out on Test cricket and moving away. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to score the most amount of runs every year. I wanted to be the one who was at the top of the tree, just to prove to myself.
You came down here yesterday to watch. You didn't have to, but you did. The love of the game. But do you miss the international game? When you look out there, you see Anderson taking 500.
I don't miss it now. I love watching it as a supporter. I come here now and you see the special moments for Jimmy, and I come up and sat into the commentary boxes for half an hour just to watch the game. And it's just brilliant, isn't it? You know, the atmosphere that you get, the buzz you still get from being at the ground, obviously the special places we are here at Lord's, but it's just fantastic. And to have that, you know, to be privileged to have a sort of 6-year career playing at the top, but it's brilliant to still come back and watch it.
A lot of the guys that play now, the youngsters coming into the side, or the inexperienced guys, are quite surprised by the level of intensity of Test cricket and the scrutiny. Would you have any advice to them?
Look, I think you've got to try and get yourself into the frame of mind, isn't it? It's going to be there, and at the moment it's quite a tough place for batting because of you know, the few batting woes in the English team where you're trying to get the right personnel into the right places. So it's tough, there's no doubt about it. I was quite lucky. I was dropped on naught as we go back to there, and I ended up getting 60 on debut, which almost then sort of set the ball rolling for me and made it a little bit easier. So you know, you've got to try and love it. You've got to enjoy the fact that it's going to be there. There's going to be problems. It's going to be an up and down road, but it's great fun. Absolutely great fun.
More of those to come as well. Been a great pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good work.